So good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see you. And I just want to say welcome back. I'm glad that you're able to join for Decoding Distance Learning here in the new semester. We've had a lot of changes that have happened. We've got a new bell schedule, a new timetable that we're following. And so that brings about some different ways of being in class. So we'll have a chance to talk about that today. Let me start by sharing my screen and showing you our agenda of what we'll be talking about today. Here we are. So this is our short agenda for our meeting today. At first, I just want to say welcome back. I'm so happy to see you, and please reach out to me anytime that you have a question. Some of you have been corresponding with me about different matters over the break and as school has started, and it's been nice to talk to you. So please do feel free to reach out. I'm always very happy to get your email. So I have a few quick announcements that I'd like to make. The first, and I will include these links in the follow-up email from this meeting, but I want to make sure that everybody has access to the new timetable. Hopefully you've been following it with no problem, but it's always good to have a copy. So I'll make sure that you have the links to that. I will also make sure that you have the link to the calendar, because that's really important as we have different dates that are coming up, especially in our spring semester, when some of the grades start to have some important tests. I want to remind everybody that when you have an absence that you would like to have excused, whether it is because you have fallen ill or something is going on with your family, please do write to office@woodstock.ac.in. And then our heads of school will communicate with you about getting those absences excused. And finally, I just want to make a quick note to everyone about academic honesty. Academic honesty is so important during distance learning because we are in a brand new environment. We're in a situation where we're not all in a classroom together. We don't have proctors or monitors for tests. It's sort of a different situation. So it's really important that every student take that honor pledge and really take academic honesty seriously. For students, part of the way to be successful with all of your matters of academic honesty are really just to focus on your time management and make sure that you ask the questions that you need to in class. When you read the instructions, when you engage with your teachers, when you really learn material and feel like you've had a chance to ask clarifying questions, then you're less likely to do something that could put you in a compromising position. For parents, just a reminder that if you know your child has an assessment, you can organize a way to supervise that. You can make sure that phones are not present during assessments. And of course, please don't give your children any answers. So those are just some quick reminders. I would like to ask, we have both of our heads of school here today, and I would like to ask both Mr. Jeff and Dr. Brad if they have any comments about academic honesty or any of these topics that we've looked at so far. Mr. Jeff?
Sure. Just a little bit of perspective from upper years and transition, thinking long-term to graduating with an IB-DP diploma. It is really important to focus on academic honesty and know that the consequences for academic honesty violations are quite severe. Universities, this is one of the things they really want to know about students. And Woodstock has a great reputation with universities because they know that Woodstock takes academic honesty very seriously. Also, it's just good to know, thinking long-term, that sometimes there are consequences even outside of Woodstock's control. So for certain IB, definitely with the IB exam and even certain internal assessments, if there's plagiarism or academic dishonesty, you can lose the chance to take the exam and be banned for even several years from being able to pass that exam. So I just wanted to reemphasize, I know there are a lot of middle year students here, but it's good to build those habits now. And then by the time you get to upper years and DP 1 and 2, those habits are already there. You won't even think about having an academic honesty offense.
Yeah. Thank you. Those are such important words. Thank you, Mr. Jeff. And again, even if you're not in upper years, it's important to start thinking about those exams that you take toward the end of your IB diploma, and thinking about academic honesty councils and building good habits now. Dr. Brad, did you have any comments you would like to make about academic honesty or any of our announcements?
Sure. I mean, I would echo everything that Mr. Jeff just said. I think that academic honesty is at the core of a good education, for one thing, and has very important implications for sort of the safety of a student as they pass through the educational process, in terms of well, among other things, in terms of staying out of trouble. And I think that there is a skill set to be learned there. And in a minute, Jamie, you're going to ask me to talk about some data. And anytime you're ready, I have some data actually to share on this subject. So when you're ready, I'll just start with that and segue right into the attendance.
That's perfect. That's a great transition. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. Do I have screen share privileges?
Yes, you should.
All right, so let's just start with the academic honesty piece. Great. So first week back, we canceled middle years classes on Thursday and held a research camp, middle years research camp. And this was an answer to some concern that skills related to research and writing were lacking, particularly in the area of integrity, and making sure that attribution is being given to proper sources. People aren't taking quotes and not giving credit and that sort of thing. So basically, these are plagiarism issues. And there's some skills that go along with this, as we all know. It's not immediately evident to people when they're born how to give proper attribution and communicate this to an audience. So we took the day and we focused really on 3 skills. One was paraphrasing, the other was citations and referencing, and the other was selecting good sources. So in other words, not citing the likes of Wikipedia, but also learning how to use things like Wikipedia as tools. So we focused on that in the morning. We had the students do a mini project to demonstrate their skills. And then we took some data from the students. And so I just thought I'd share this off. It came out very nicely. We've got 23 responses. And if you've ever done survey-based data, 23%, which is roughly what we got, is actually a pretty good return. So it's a decent sample size to show us, to imply what the greater pattern is. And it falls out 11, 6, and 6 across the grade levels. But what I really want you to focus on is the before and after snapshots. So this is paraphrasing and their confidence in paraphrasing before research camp. And you can see that the red here is not very confident, and the purple is, I had no idea. Okay, so you can see that this, when we go to after research camp, now how do you feel about it? The red shrinks to almost nothing. Whereas the blue, orange, and green, which are indicators that the student is now confident, grow quite a lot. And we can go down to citing and referencing. We see the same basic pattern. Students are coming in before with a lot of purple and red, feeling like they really don't know how to do this. And they're leaving with a whole lot of positive colors flying. One student still indicating that they need some help, and we're still working with those students. But so that's on citing and referencing, and I think that's a really great thing to see. And here we are on source selection. Again, a lot of kids coming in feeling like, I'm red and I'm purple, I have no idea what's going on. And by the end, that is almost completely eliminated. So I just wanted to share that to emphasize the points that Jeff and that Jamie raised, that this is incredibly important. And I think it's a hallmark of a good education to know not only how to learn, how to write, but also how to be part of a community of writers and a community of researchers, so that you're giving attribution and you're part of the conversation, not imagining that you're alone on the field, inventing everything from the wheel up. So that's that on plagiarism in middle years. And I can answer any questions about that, by the way, if anybody has any questions about middle years research camp.
Thank you so much for organizing that, Dr. Brad, because those are such important skills. Sometimes I think that without those foundational skills, things that can turn into some of the more serious consequences, like Mr. Jeff talked about later, are because students might not have ever learned those skills to begin with. So we're making sure that students feel really strong in those foundations. We're following up on an individual level, and that's really excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And it's really a pleasure to get this feedback from the students. I'll just say too, what a great group. I mean, there were comments that came back that were actually, one student said, "This was really fun. I wish we could do it more." And I think that speaks well of our community. So let's transition from that to a different set of data. And this will be on attendance. So each one of these dots is one of our students. Each dot is a student in middle years from first semester. And what the dot actually represents is the intersection of attendance and academic performance. So you can see the relationship of those two variables for each child. So you can see that we move up and to the right or down and to the left. And it's a really nice pattern. And so I just wanted to share this to illustrate the point that I think schools spend a lot of time trying to make through rhetoric about the importance of attendance. Data really speaks, and especially when it's our own data from our own students in our own program. And that's what this is. If anybody has any background in correlations, a 0.66 you'll recognize as a very strong correlation between these two variables. And so just to run through real quick, attendance is increasing as you go up the y-axis, and average grade is increasing as you go to the right. And so we see that the students who are attending class the most are also getting really good grades. And so the inverse is also true. As attendance falls, so do average grades. So there's that correlation kind of moving very linearly there. And to break this down into, I think, more bite-sized chunks, dividing it into quartiles helps. And what this really does, I think, is show that it's a matter of choices. So this top quartile here, you can start to see about where the average is. These are students who missed 3 or less classes in the whole semester, 3 or fewer classes in the whole semester. And the average would be somewhere, in like the center of all these dots. If you were to split the dots in half, and you'd find about the average there. So you can see kind of roughly that the average shifts to the left as you go down. And to capture that point a little bit more easily, I can throw these brackets in, and you can really see the change. And again, this is all about choices students can make. So it's about empowerment. Students are empowered to make choices. They can choose to be in the 4th quartile, or they can choose to be in the 1st quartile. Now, I've said that with leaving out the very important fact that some students are in different time zones. Some students are struggling with connectivity, and we know, and we're not trying to reflect on those particular situations here. We're actually seeing students who are in different time zones do amazing things and stick with us, and in ways that make us just inspired and proud every day. And students with connectivity, they know that these are issues. Their parents know that these are issues. And frankly, this is one of the reasons to really pay attention to those issues. So what you see over here in the right is just the difference between quartile 1 and each of the other quartiles. So again, students are empowered. They can make simple choices that have significant impact. They can choose, we can all choose to be in this area here or this area here. And even if we're talking about the outliers, we can be pretty sure the pattern will hold. It'll be up and to the right or down and to the left. So, as you increase your attendance, you're going to be moving in this direction. So if someone's down here and they're saying, well, I'm doing all right already, That's true, but you can make different choices that will put you in an even better place. So that's the reason why I wanted to share this with parents, and also I'm happy to see a lot of students here this morning. And if there are any questions about that, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much for this data, Dr. Brad. I think that, first of all, it's an excellent example of using data and correlations and statistical information to tell a story about what it means to have good attendance. And so the way that those are correlated to grades is something I think that is a very practical matter that we can all look at and say, if I want to do well, if I want to do better in my classes, then one practical step that you can take is really try to up your attendance. But I just want to say, in some ways, you guys are already ahead of the curve because you are attending this session. You're showing that you're taking initiative to really learn about what it takes to be successful during distance learning. So I want to give you a round of applause for being here today and for learning all of these things. Give yourself a round of applause. Great. Okay, so we've got one more little activity to do. And some of you guys have worked on Padlet. For parents, this might be a new concept. This concept is called Padlet, and it's an educational technology that we've been using at Woodstock during distance learning. It's a little bit like a discussion board. It's a place where students can write and in real time see what other students are writing. And I've made a short Padlet for us to write on this morning in response, just to sort of get some responses about 40-minute classes. So as we know, we have transitioned to 40-minute class times. Last semester, we had 25-minute class times. So our classes are a bit longer than they used to be. This gives us more time to do certain things. So I would like to hear from you guys. I'd like to hear from you guys what you're liking about 40-minute classes, but also some tips that you might give other students to how they can be successful during these longer classes. So I'm going to put in the chat a link, and I invite you to click on this link. Parents and students, everyone here can click on this link and answer the 2 questions that we have. Let's just spend a few minutes writing a few things. What do you like about 40-minute classes? And what tips can you give to other students? What can you imagine that it will take to be successful during our 40-minute classes? Let's spend a few minutes on this. We've got some great responses coming in already. If you're just coming in, go ahead and click on the link in the chat and write your answers, your contributions on our Padlet. Some great answers. These are some great tips for your fellow students. Okay, so keep writing your answers if you haven't finished yet, but let's just, let me share my screen and we can all look at the Padlet together. So what is one thing that you like about 40-minute classes? A lot of folks wrote things about we can ask more questions, we have more time for interaction, we can learn more, we can get more done so we have less homework, more time for doubt clearing and don't have to wait for office hours, time for questions, more time to understand and interact. These are great answers. So I think interacting with teachers, getting more in depth into your classes, more time to help my students. Sounds like that's coming from a teacher. So even teachers are really, really liking the longer classes and what they can do during that time. That's great. If you haven't had a chance, please contribute to this. I will be reading all of these in detail and sharing them with our teachers and other leadership teams so that we know how you're feeling about 40-minute classes. What tips can you give students? So whether you're a parent or a student yourself, what tips can you give students to be successful during 40-minute classes? Every 20 minutes, take 20 seconds to look 20 meters away, so not to damage your eyes. That is an excellent, excellent tip. So let's all practice it right now. So look somewhere a far distance away, give your eyes a blink. So important to reduce eye strain. Try not to get distracted during class. Excellent point. Excellent point. Let's talk about that in a little bit. Clear your doubts. Yes. Ask your teachers questions. Use that time. Take some 5-minute breaks and rest your eyes. Very good. 5-minute break during the back-to-back classes. Those 5-minute breaks are really important, aren't they? And you can get up, you can stretch. Don't just stay right there focused on your screen. Make sure that you use those breaks to your advantage to really take the break. Stay focused. These are great tips. Stretch breaks. Shake it. I love it. In between classes, walk around, take notes during class. I find that really helpful too, because that way you're engaged and you're doing something. Get up, set yourself up for success by drinking water, having a good snack. These are excellent. So if you haven't had a chance to finish, please do write your tips and also your thoughts on this Padlet, because again, I'll be reading over those again. Thank you for participating in that. That's great. It seems like 40-minute classes are going really well. We know that there are some challenges with having more screen time, and so we're always looking at ways to try to address that. But overall, the response to 40-minute classes has been really positive. So thank you for sharing some of those pieces with us. Last thing, I want to give you guys a family challenge. So I really want to encourage you all to talk to your parents, try to do this challenge before we meet again in 2 weeks. My challenge for you today is to make some kind of dish, a food dish together with your family. It could be a dessert, it could be something that you actually have as your meal, or it could be a breakfast dish, it could be something on the weekend. You decide. But I want to hear about it next time we come back. So get together with your parents, make something in the kitchen together. Maybe you will teach them a new recipe, or maybe they will teach you something. You can learn from each other. But I would like to hear from some of you guys in the next 2 weeks when we return about the dish that you cooked together. Okay? Great. That's all we have time for today. Thanks so much for coming to Decoding Distance Learning, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Todd.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Namaskar.
Thank
Namaskar.
you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sasha.